Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Ready for the event.
Scientific American, this is Mission Control Houston. Please
ready
call
for the
Station
event.
for Scientific American.
Station, this is Scientific American. How do you hear me?
Loud and clear. Welcome to the cupola on the space station.
Thank you. Matt, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me today.
So excited to do so.
I'm Rachel Feltman. I host Scientific American's podcast, Science Quickly. And yeah, my first question is, where exactly are you calling in from? Because I understand it's a pretty big deal.
Say again at the first part of your question.
Yeah. So where exactly are you calling in from? Because I understand it's a pretty big deal, and not just because you're in space right now.
Awesome. We're trying out something new today. We're on the International Space Station, of course, but we're in the cupola, which is one of the astronauts' favorite places to hang out. It's a 7-windowed environment on the bottom of the space station. So when you see us, we kind of look upside down relative to Earth, but that's how we come in. Our head is going down towards the Earth, and we get to look out and see our beautiful Earth through these 7 windows. In the view right now, you're seeing 3 or 4 of those windows. And as we go through this conversation, we get to see a dynamic event, which is sunset. So I could take days and days to describe it, but which is one of the reasons that drives me to do so much photography, because just try and capture what we see. But super excited to come to you from the cupola today.
Awesome. Yeah. And I understand it took some like special equipment, some new window filters to make this possible. Could you tell me more about why that is?
Oh, absolutely. It's incredibly bright. In fact, right now, as we're going through sunset, if you're watching on video, the sun is coming up on the right-hand side of my face. It's really bright as we're getting close to sunset. And through the course of our conversation today, we'll go from a full day to full night, and it will see the darkness, the Terminator we call it, the day-night transition come over the top of me. And so I'm going to just close one of our shutters right now to protect the right side of my face from the searing sun and turn on a light. But the cupola is really bright, and we recently got something shipped up to us called neutral density filters, and there's these little films that we put over the windows, and for photography nerds, these are 4 stops. So these provide 4 stops of exposure change that we're able to put in front of the windows to help expose for pictures if we want to take something, a picture of something both inside the cupola, but also be able to see the Earth on the outside. So we're trying that out today.
Very cool. Now, speaking of photography nerds, you're an engineer, a pilot, and of course an astronaut, but you're also a prolific photographer. So how did you get into photography?
So many paths led to that. I mean, to start, when I was young, my dad was a photographer and a journalist and producer, director for local stuff growing up in Colorado. He actually started doing that in the Air Force. He was a photographer, ran a motion picture unit for the United States Air Force. And just seeing how he took photographs and how he composed things and cropped things and set up shots. I didn't do a lot of it growing up, but I was around it. And then joining NASA, we got trained by our photo TV department how to take pictures. And then there's some very distinct moments I remember as part of my space flight. Now, we've been up here for 5 or 6 months ago, but things that really stick in my mind, obviously the rocket lifting you off the launch pad, but that first time floating out of your seat and going to the window, I immediately wanted to just spend so much time trying to capture what I saw with my eye with the camera. I feel immense responsibility to share what we see. So few people are lucky enough to come up into space. I feel an immense obligation to take pictures and share everything we see with the world. And with the tools we have, the cameras we have up here, doing my absolute best to try and share what we see with the world.
Awesome. And how different is it taking photos in space versus on Earth?
Oh man, there are good parts and there are hard parts. The dynamic component of the lighting is really a challenge. But then you're also lucky that in photography they talk about the golden hour, or right there at sunrise or sunset. Folks like to take a lot of pictures of those times. The lighting is just incredible, and we're lucky to get 16 of those a day. You know, we're going 17,500 miles an hour. We're making a lap around the Earth every 90 minutes. So if I don't get the lighting right or the setup right on a pass, I can wait 90 minutes and I'll get a chance to do it again. In fact, we're going through it right now, right above the top of my head. It's getting dark very quickly. The sun is searing out the right side of this hatch, and so shooting in space is a challenge. Additionally, actually we got the sun right. We got it blocked just right now. You can see out this window as I just modulate this cupola shutter just right. But shooting in space can also be a challenge because you're shooting through windows, and so you have to manage a lot of odd reflections. And so we have things like we have shrouds that we put up around the cameras to kind of block out interior lights from reflections. Shooting through the glass can be troublesome. You know, and you have to shoot really fast shutter speeds, sometimes just because we're going so fast. Folks who do astrophotography on Earth might be able to expose 10, 15 seconds without seeing star trails, depending on what lenses they're using. Up here, you know, I was taking pictures the other day, and a half-second exposure, I was seeing streaks in city lights. So it presents some unique challenges, but we have great instructors that teach us how to do it, and it's a lot of fun.
Very cool. Do you use any special equipment?
So many cool toys. I'm a giant nerd. I'm willing to admit it. We recently, I totally recently admit it. We have these big full frame mirrorless cameras. This is an 85 millimeter lens, super fast lens, 1.4 for the focal length. That's super fun. We have cameras that are great for taking pictures of the Earth during the daytime. This is one of those. This is a 50 to 500 zoom lens. Love using this guy for daytime photography. Super versatile. We got a new lens, and so I've been posting a lot of images online with this lens. It's a 15 millimeter lens that's super fast. It doesn't use f-stops, it uses t-stops, but it's about an f1.2 or 4, and it's a t1.8. Love this thing. This has yielded so many incredible photographs. So lots of great equipment up here, and lots of practice. And luckily, it's not analog anymore, so you could shoot a lot and not feel too bad about wasting film.
Totally. So I know there are like pretty strict rules about how much weight an astronaut can bring up into space. Did you have to make any tough decisions about what equipment to bring with you?
Luckily, all the photo TV equipment is provided through the International Space Station. That's up here already.
Awesome.
We don't bring our own equipment. It's up here. Luckily, we get to make some suggestions, but it's all up here already, and we share it and pass it around. And it's a blast. We have an incredible set of equipment. In fact, we get new equipment all the time. This lens just came up maybe a month ago, and a couple other lenses, and so absolutely loving it.
And tell me more about the training that you got specifically for space photography. What kinds of new skills did you need to learn? What does NASA want astronauts to know about taking photos in space?
Well, I think the key to taking photos in space, or anywhere for that matter, is understanding the basics, right? How aperture, exposure, ISO, and how they all play together, and how you trade those three, because you never really quite know the exact situation you're going to be in. NASA does a great job developing procedures for specific situations, but once you get in that lighting situation, you got to really understand how to manipulate those on the camera, what lens you're using, to mix them together to get what you want. We do, some artistic photography up here. I really like to take pictures of space station structure with the Earth in the background, the curvature of the Earth. In fact, watching right now, you're watching the sunset, which is amazing, right behind me. And this is a really dynamic event. You can see the darkness of night coming and taking over the day of the Earth. It's a really dynamic event. A sunset on Earth, you might have minutes here, up here. You have very little time to capture a sunset because you're going so fast. But NASA trains us those basics, and from those basics, you can expand as far as you want to go. They also teach us technical photography. We are up here conducting research and science, and so sometimes you have to take technical photographs to show the researchers on Earth what you're doing, or what the result of their experiment. So we do a lot of macro photography. We get in close, and we have a whole set of lenses and lights to take pictures both inside the space station and outside the space station.
What are some of your favorite things to photograph from the ISS?
I think my favorite thing is the thing I'm not expecting. The things that I do expect to see or hope to see a lot of is aurora. I love seeing lights from Earth reflected off station structure. I took a picture really recently that I absolutely love where aurora and city lights are reflecting off the blue solar arrays that are on the service module. I just love those reflections, the interaction of Earth lights reflecting off of station structure. But some of my favorite pictures are the ones I don't expect. I was in here with my crewmate Mike a couple weeks ago, and I don't remember what we were shooting. We were shooting something else, and all of a sudden I saw the moon getting ready to set. And I quickly grabbed a different camera, swapped the lenses, put the settings in, and was shooting over Mike's shoulder, and ended up getting a great exposure of the Earth setting, or excuse me, the moon setting on the Earth, and just loved it. And so the unexpected are some of my favorite shots.
Yeah, awesome. Do you have a favorite photograph or time lapse in particular from your time on ISS?
I think I'm going to suffer from recency bias there. I have a lot of pictures. I do like to take a lot of candid pictures inside the space station of crewmates at work or catch them when they're having fun. But external photographs, I probably suffer from recency bias here. I just set up a time lapse the other day, shooting one of my favorite things, which is Southeast Asia fishing boats. Actually, no, it wasn't that picture, sorry. Shooting the Nile River. There's too many things to be excited about. I love shooting the Nile River at night or coming over Europe and seeing the Mediterranean and the Nile River. And we were coming up over Africa with lightning, and I love taking pictures of lightning. And we come up over the Nile River, and then we go over Israel. And it was a time lapse. I was trying a new technique. I was trying to, really crank the gain up and see what would happen with ISO, and went to review the pictures later over the dinner table on the camera, and I was just blown away because I caught a meteor, a massive meteor coming into the atmosphere out of just sheer luck and exploding in the atmosphere. And it just emits this giant green glow that was just multiple sizes. The green glow was the explosion in the atmosphere was multiple sizes times bigger than Israel, and it was just an incredible, just lucky shot. So it's always something new.
What are you hoping that people think or feel when they see your images?
I just want to share what I feel like. People are interested when I'm interested. Some people are interested in what you're doing when you're interested in it, and when you're talking about it and sharing it. And I just want to share what we see. I feel this immense obligation to share what we're seeing up here in space. I'm super lucky to be here. Not a lot of people get to come up here, and I just want to share with the world what humanity can do when they come together to do something. So many nations work together to put together this international space station across seemingly impossible boundaries across nations. And look what we get to do when we get to see outside the window. And from the moment I first looked out the window, I wanted to try and capture what my eyeball sees, and I've yet to completely do it with the camera. It's very difficult. The human eye can show such a deep dynamic range that I haven't been able to capture quite yet with the camera. But I want people to think whatever they want to think. I just want to share what I see.
Yeah. So you're coming to the end of your mission on ISS. What's something that you're really going to miss when you're back on Earth?
So many things. I enjoy the short commute. I can wake up a couple minutes before the start of the day and be out of my crew quarters and at work in just a couple of minutes. And I get to float to work, which is super awesome. I love flipping. Why would you float straight when you can flip the whole time? So I spend a lot of time flipping everywhere on the space station. I'm going to miss that immensely. I'm going to miss having all of these cameras at my fingertips. It's amazing. I've got 5 or 6 cameras at my fingertips I can choose from to take a shot. There's a lot of aspects of space I'm going to miss. It's tough to nail one individual thing down.
What are you looking forward to back on Earth?
I mean, obviously, I want to go be at home for a little bit of time with my wife and daughters. I would like to take a shower. I haven't taken a shower since March. I'm part of a research experiment where I don't use the treadmill up here. So I haven't walked since March. I'd like to walk maybe once or twice, or maybe a lot. But there's so many things. But I love both places. I love the space station, and I love being on Earth. The Earth, when you look out these windows and you look at Earth, it just blows you away with its beauty.
Wow. I'd love to hear more about that research project. How many months has it been since you walked again?
So as part of the research project, the last time I walked was when I walked into the spacecraft, the Dragon, in March. There's a treadmill up here that we use for working out, but I volunteered for a research program where I don't use the treadmill. I use our resistance device, our training device, and a bicycle. The reason being is a treadmill takes up a lot of space and a lot of mass that could be difficult on long-duration missions to the moon or to Mars. And so we want to see what happens to the human body if you aren't exposed to that ambulation. Oh, by the way, the lighting is amazing right now. We're just now going through sunset here. And one of my favorite things to watch is the lighting on people's faces. So I've turned off the internal lights in here so you can just watch the lighting on someone's face during a sunset. I love watching it on my crewmates' faces.
Wow, very cool. So what do you think you're going to photograph when you're back on Earth, you know, now that you've experienced space photography from space?
Well, NASA does this really cool thing to help us get better at photography and taking quick pictures, and that is they let us borrow the cameras, and so I practice taking pictures of things that don't sit still, like my kids, or there are sporting events or those kinds of things that can be tricky. Those are kind of fun, or just work at NASA or those kinds of things to keep your practice up. But there's so many beautiful things to take pictures on Earth. Just as they're on space. I'm going to turn the lights back on now that the sun is set.
And other than photography, what's your favorite thing to do on ISS?
Favorite thing to do? I mean, other than photography, you're asking me tough questions here to rank and stack things. I really, like I said before, I love flipping and floating through the lab. I love playing in zero G and just seeing how things react. And you know, I don't need a lot to entertain me. A stick and some mud works on Earth sometimes, but up here, you know, one time I was up here just playing with a bolt and a nut and see how they spin and work together and see if you could catch the two. And it's just so much fun to play in zero G or play with water. Every time I talk with one of my daughters on video chat, she's always saying, "Hey, Dad, do the water thing," and we make big bubbles of water and play with them. And we don't just do those things when we're doing PAO events. We do those things for fun because it's so much fun to play with.
My last question is just, is there anything you haven't gotten to photograph on ISS yet that you're hoping to catch while you're up there?
I think I have I'm planning to take some videos of just some basic physics things inside the space station that you can only do up here in zero G. You know, things I want to look at, you know, how fluids behave in, I'm thinking about how we're going to do propellant transfer from one rocket to another. And I've been thinking about how you know, that's really important for the future of spaceflight. Right now, rockets launch and they use all their fuel, and you don't refuel in space as much. We do have some small cases. In fact, the space station does on-orbit refueling, but refueling on large scales. And I've been thinking about how you move fluids around. So making videos of how fluids move around in zero G, among other things. I'm looking forward to making a lot of videos, to be honest.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today, and for you know, pushing to help us see this space live. It's such a cool view. So I know I really appreciate it, and I'm sure everybody else watching does too.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I was super glad to share with you. You know, we started in the daytime. We went through this entire interview in the sunset, dynamic changes, and I think that really shows just kind of the environment we live in. And, you know, 30 minutes from now, the sun's going to be rising again, and we're going to be another sunrise. And it's a super dynamic environment and super fun to be a part of, and thankful that you would join us today.
Awesome.
Station, this is Houston ACR. Thank you. That concludes our event.
Thank you to all participants. Station, we're now resuming operational audio communications.
On 2 for CO2 monitor devices.
ATC, we have some words for you on the personal CO2 monitor. Are you calling about the amber light on 1031?
Well, not that specifically. It's more of a general question about